there was a mom that I met through this circumstance, and she invited me to her house. And when I got there, she had laid out like her entire kitchen island was filled with treats like macaroons, veggies, hummus, like little sandwiches. Just it looked like she was having a big party, but it was just for me. And she had one child, her daughter, and she said, I am so excited that you're here. We've just been starving to know people. And like, it's so exciting that you're here. And like, we just feel so isolated. And I remember I just looked her in the eyes and I said, I'm going to start a community. Like, we need this.
Hello and welcome to the Thrive Communities podcast, a place where real homeschool families share their stories and the heart behind their decision to educate at home. At Thrive Communities, our mission is to support and connect homeschool families in a community where children and parents can truly thrive. Whether you are new to homeschooling, considering it, or have been on the journey for years, we're so glad you're here.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
So excited to have you chatting with us today and telling the world about yourself and your vision with Thrive. And I know a ton about you and your vision, so I'm excited for you to kind of share with everybody else. So if we can just start from the beginning, tell us about your kids, your family, and your homeschooling journey.
Yeah, so I have 5 kids. All of my kids are now 20 and up. They're grown adults. But in the beginning, we decided to homeschool our firstborn. And at the time, homeschooling was in the 90s, in the late 90s, and it was considered really off the beaten path.
A lot different than now.
Yeah, and so we were kind of the fringe of society. There were the moms, we were all at the park, and like everybody thought homeschooling was weird back then, but we joined this really amazing group of women who really were experts in curriculum, and we all kind of formed a co-op and would teach each other's kids and trade. And as time went on, I ended up homeschooling my first 3 all the way through high school. And then I have 2 that went through the public school system. It was just a better fit for them. So yeah, that's kind of how I got my start. And I've seen homeschooling evolve over the years in really dramatic ways. And now it's so mainstream and so many families are coming in. And it's really exciting to see this movement because it's just a great thing to see now in our society as it's becoming normalized.
I have a few friends who grew up homeschooling back in the 90s, and they talk about how different it was then to now and how it's more mainstream. You guys are kind of like the pioneers of homeschooling because it was just so different and kind of taboo, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
How did Thrive come into play in your life? Like, what made you create Thrive, and how did your homeschooling journey impact that?
Yeah. Well, as my kids were growing up, I was that mom who always had events at my house. We did classes. We did a World Changers camp. We did a dog wedding when we were going to breed our dogs. We had a big wedding for our dogs. Like we were always having people over and doing things like that. And then as time went on, I joined in a charter school in California as a teacher first, and then a school administrator. And the school in California was geared for homeschooling families. So I worked with a roster of 50 students every year. And really I was with the parents, talking about their curriculum, talking about what they're doing for their homeschooling journey. And one thing that I realized over the years of doing that was that as a homeschooling mom, I myself was insecure. And I always wondered, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decision? What if this messes up our family? You just don't know because it's kind of like you're a guinea pig. And so as I met with different moms of all walks of life, some were highly organized, experts in their field with, PhDs or master's degrees. And then you have other moms who were just kind of like, I never went to college, but I'm homeschooling my kids. And one of the things that I noticed amongst everybody, whether they were highly structured or more free-flowing, was everybody just loves their kids and they want to do what's best for their kids. And they all are wondering if it's going to work out, right? So and we want the best. And so I really had I just started to develop this heart that like moms need encouragement. Homeschooling moms are putting in all of their heart and soul into this job. And sometimes you just don't have, maybe family members who are criticizing you or whatever it is. And I just wanted to really come alongside moms and show them that like you can do this and somebody has your back and someone cares about you. And so that was one of the like formations and kind of like the why behind Thrive is wanting to come alongside homeschooling families and encourage them and support them, whether they're, whatever walk of life they're coming from, because we all just love our kids. When my kids were growing up, we were in California. We were on one income. I sacrificed a career for a lot of that time before I joined the charter school to homeschool my kids. And times were tough. Like you had to be very creative and frugal. And we didn't have state funding back then where we could just choose things to do. Like everything we did was intentional. We went to the library. We had to check out books on topics and kind of really work on a shoestring budget. And so one of the things that's really important to me now in developing Thrive is that we can create jobs for homeschooling moms who have a background in teaching, background in education, or a heart to serve kids. So I'm really passionate about that, creating employment opportunities. Yeah. You were one of our original homeschooling moms at Thrive in our first campus. You were a parent volunteer, and you've such an invaluable resource to Thrive. You've been amazing. And so just seeing women who are so capable and so have so much to give and then providing a platform for that is really important to me.
I've loved meeting all the people within Thrive because everyone is so unique and so special with all these different backgrounds and walks of life. And like you said, all of them just love their kids or love kids so much.
Yeah.
A common interest. And then everyone's just amazing the more you get to know them. So you have so many amazing moms and dads who you've helped and bring them alongside in the Thrive journey who've just loved it. So I think it's so cool. A lot of people don't know this about Thrive and how it was built, but I love this story about how you've created the lunch system and how your daughter helped you with that and why. Mm-hmm. I'd love for you to share with everybody why the lunch system came into place and how your daughter helped you with that.
Yeah. So my daughter, Abby, is 27, almost 27 now. And she really helped develop our recess and our lunch system because as a child, and I myself was really shy and introverted as a kid. And I didn't really talk much and I was kind of always watching, but not participating in group things. And so, and then my girls were introverted too. And so we would join different homeschool groups and it was always a challenge because we would get there and everybody, the extroverted kids had, it was easy. They just like became friends and started playing. And then my girls were kind of always like, I don't know how to break into this group, or I don't know I don't know what to do. And we would do classes and the teacher would open the door for recess and say, go play, or it's lunchtime, go eat. And then you had to navigate this situation where if you don't know anybody or if you're not sure where you fit, you don't know who to go sit with. And so Abby really had a great idea. She said for recess, instead of just having it be a free-for-all and there can be cliques and things that happen, why don't we do a group game so that everybody's involved and everybody feels like they're a part of it? And that way, as new kids come to Thrive, they feel comfortable, like they have a place, they know what to do, and they're not just standing there. And so we do every recess, we do a big group game. We make it really fun. You're really good at that, Sophie, on your campus. And then for lunch, we do groups. So we sit as a class in a circle for our groups, and the kids participate in a discussion with their teacher so that everybody's included. They're not just forming cliques, and everyone learns to work together. And then we do stations after they eat for 20 minutes. Then we go to stations. So we have an art station, balls and hula hoops, or a playground. If we have a playground at that facility, we do games, puzzles. And that way the kids can kind of gravitate towards what they're interested in and make friends from other classes that are interested in the same types of things.
I have so many accounts of how that's helped so many shy kiddos, but I want to speak about my twins specifically because I have one twin who is outgoing, class president, makes friends easy, and then I have another twin who's just shy and introverted and just has such a hard time making friends. And for her at Thrive, it's really nice because they all sit together and she's involved as much as her sister and without being left out typically like she usually is.
Yes.
And in the group games, she's involved without having to try too hard. And I've seen so many kids who are just really shy and they end up just doing so well because they know where to go. They know where to sit.
They have a place.
There's guided conversations, there's guided games. And so they never feel left out. And so I think I wanted you to share that because I think it's just so cool. And the idea of Thrive being built up by you and your family, it's just the coolest thing.
And I feel like we just took our experiences for my kids, basically all the things that went right. There were so many great things. And there were things that we saw in the homeschool community that were really lacking. For instance, we were apart when we moved to Arizona. We were really lonely. We came out of a really engrafted situation in California, and we felt like we had this group of people, and we came here and we were kind of on our own. And my kids really struggled with that because we tried to join different groups, and maybe they're religious based or not the same exact like belief system, and you have to interview to get in, and it felt really gated. And I felt like homeschoolers really need a place where they can just come and not have to jump through hoops to get in.
Yeah.
Like everybody needs a place to have a community. And so that was the why behind, forming Thrive in the way we do, is that we want everyone to feel like they can come and belong and learn how to get, with other people who may not have the same exact beliefs they do, but they can come together. And my kids really struggled not having community. And like we would do things like we would go to a field trip and we would meet a nice family, and then we'd exchange numbers, and then life happens and we never get together with them.
Yeah.
Then we would join a karate class or art class or whatever, and you would meet a nice friend, and then they would quit. And you always felt like you were chasing this sense of like, I need to feel like I'm part of something, but we never found it in Arizona. And that was really the driving force behind why we started Thrive. And it really came to a head for me when there was a mom that I met through this circumstance, and she invited me to her house. And when I got there, she had laid out like her entire kitchen island was filled with treats like macaroons, veggies, hummus, like little sandwiches. Just, it looked like she was having a big party, but it was just for me. And she had one child, her daughter, and she said, I am so excited that you're here. We've just been starving to know people. And like, it's so exciting that you're here. And like, we just feel so isolated. And I remember I just looked her in the eyes and I said, I'm going to start a community. Like, we need this in this region. And we started in Peoria, Arizona, with just, it was kind of inspired from that one conversation and seeing this mom and all the heart she put behind preparing for me to just come over. And I just knew in that moment, like, something has to be done. Like, homeschoolers need to have the community. Moms need to have the support, and dads. Yeah. And these kids shouldn't grow up alone. And one of the things growing up as a public school kid myself, I was kind of shy and I didn't really have a lot of friends. But when you have the experience of growing up with the same group of kids, whether you are friends with them or not, you all know each other's names, and you have this camaraderie that like, we're the first graders or whatever. Yeah. It's like you have this sense of like place in your community, and everybody knows your name, you know their names. And so it gives you this stability that I felt like we were missing as a homeschool family when we came to Arizona. We didn't really have that. And I felt like we've got to change this for the next generation of homeschoolers, because there's a whole now exodus of people coming out of public school system and into homeschooling. And if we don't change it, what's going to happen? Like, these kids need to feel like they're a part of something, and these parents need to be supported. And so that's kind of why I made it my mission. That's my mission and vision, is like, we want to create great classes that are really substantial learning, going deeper into history, science, literature, and art than we ever did in a traditional setting. But with that, everything we're doing is developed to help the kids build community. So when you come to Thrive, you're not going to be sitting at a desk doing worksheets, facing the teacher, where everyone has to be quiet. We do everything. Like, we have a curriculum department that intentionally builds our lessons around group projects. And because we really want the kids to learn how to work together, to form friendships in a natural way. And we are all about having fun and making learning really fun. Like, when these kids are coming to Thrive and they grow up, I want them to have memories of history being so exciting. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not boring worksheets.
Yeah.
My memory of history as a kid in social studies in public school was like, it was after lunch. I was always falling asleep. I had no idea what they were talking
I
about.
have the same experience.
It wasn't until I was a homeschooling mom that I even understood history. I felt like because it finally made sense.
Yeah, it wasn't boring. Yeah. And I see the kids at Thrive every week just retaining so much cool information. They're doing it while doing activities, and traditional schooling is like you need to sit down and do a test and memorize. And I think people are kind of, like you said, pulling away from that a little bit,
Yeah.
and going away from the public school setting. And Thrive has just been so popular. And I think what people don't realize is it started small, and the idea is through this just like place of love for kids and for your own kids, and how you can make homeschooling better for other families. As Thrive has gotten bigger and it's in more communities, what would you tell parents who are concerned that it won't have that small feel anymore? What are you doing to keep it that small, loving homeschool feel?
Well, we're very intentional with our staff. We handpick the best of the best as far as the director on campus, which we call the program lead, and the 4 teachers and the campus aide. We are hiring these people for personality, for the love that they have for kids. We want every student that comes to Thrive to feel personally greeted and cared about, that they are known. We want the parents to feel the same way. So we intentionally set up our communities to be that way. We do parent coffees. We have lots of field trips, lots of things going on outside of just the day of learning. We just really are so about creating community. And within our staff, I feel like our leadership team, it's all about the kids and the families. I think every single member of our leadership team, maybe a few have like older kids, but most of us are still homeschooling parents.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
we all care and are fully invested in the community ourselves, which
Yeah.
makes a difference.
And I think what people don't realize is we're building community for all the kids. Like, we care about that, but there's so many parents and teachers now who have these huge communities now of friends and people they
Yes.
can rely on and ask questions to. I know I can speak for myself being a part of Thrive now. I have so many friends just from being a part of the Thrive community that I have over for dinner regularly, or I watch their kids, or they watch my kids. And it's something that I also didn't have when I first moved to Arizona. So I think Thrive kind of moves outside of just the classroom setting and into the communities. And I think that's why it's so needed and everyone wants it there, just because everyone is gaining from it, all the
Yeah.
love and friendships and events that they get to do together outside of Thrive, and they're seeing each other regularly. And
It's so good.
yeah, I think it's really, really cool.
There was a dad that reached out and said, I need to meet with you on Zoom. I have to tell you something. And so I got on Zoom with him, and he said, I just want to tell you how much Thrive has meant to our family. I was taking a walk with my daughter in our neighborhood, and we didn't know anybody. And then there was in someone's backyard, a head popped up, because I guess there was a kid on a trampoline, and his little girl said, wait, that's my friend from Thrive. So they went and knocked on the gate, and they answered, and the parents met each other, and then they became really good friends, and now they have weekly dinners together as families. And I thought, that's just what this is all about. I want these families to connect and to find their people that they can do life with and grow up together with.
I have a story like that. So we had just moved into our neighborhood, and I was the art teacher at the first Thrive. And I was outside setting up, I think, Christmas lights or something for the holidays. And we didn't know anybody in the neighborhood. And as I was out there hanging up the lights, this van passes by and then brakes and reverses hard, and everyone's yelling, Miss Sophia from the car. And I didn't know who it was. Happened to be a group of kids that I was teaching that lived down the road that we had no idea, because no one was coming out and introducing themselves. And so after that, our community grew, because all of the homeschoolers within my neighborhood knew them and then started knowing us. And then through Thrive, we just all started hanging out. So we'd have these huge Thrive Kid Friday nights, and everyone would be out in the street playing.
That is
and
so fun.
That's because they recognized me as their art teacher and had their parents stop and come chat with me. So I have that same story, and we're still best friends.
I love that. That's amazing.
So you being a homeschool mom for a really, really long time, and now being with Thrive, meeting new homeschool families who are, either coming out of private school or they're new to homeschooling, what do you think is the biggest misconception of homeschooling that you've seen in your time as a homeschool mom and you run a homeschool program? What do you think the biggest misconception is?
Well, I think there is a misconception that homeschooling kids are behind
Okay.
in the general public. I know my own parents, when they found out we were homeschooling, my dad used to be the president of a school board and kind of was like, what are you doing? And they were really concerned. But then as the kids kind of went through the years, they realized, wait, now there's this opportunity because you're not stuck in a system that's geared towards, just the general population. Like you can really go extra into what you're learning and go deeper. So my own child, my firstborn, taught herself animation, and we went to the library and like really became this expert in animation, and then went on to art school, and now is a professional animator. But she wouldn't have had the time to do that in a traditional setting because there would be homework and all these things. So we were able to take the interest of each child and really kind of let them run with it, which was really great. And then you can go so much deeper into the topics. Just like at Thrive, we're doing history right now. We're doing a 4-year history cycle. It's world history. It's not just social studies. And we're going deep into the history of the world from the ancients through modern. And it's a 4-year cycle. And the kids are even kindergarten, are going deep into world history, which is really, it's really great to give the kids the ability to go deeper. And I think a lot of people think that homeschoolers just aren't, that the homeschooling parents aren't qualified or they don't know what they're doing. But really, you can go so much deeper than you ever could in a traditional setting.
Yeah, I think that people think homeschoolers aren't getting the education that they need from a traditional standpoint. But you're right. If we think of our kids, we know our kids best. And they're so special and individual that we can dive in deeper with them, actually. I have my twins who are just completely different, identical twins, and they learn differently. They like different things. And I couldn't imagine them being in a school setting where they're kind of against each other and being tested at different levels, and just how bad they would feel about where they're at when there's no reason to,
Yeah.
And so I think that is a misconception that homeschool kids aren't getting the same or good education.
Yeah.
Per se.
And another thing I love about homeschooling, it just gives you the opportunity to keep the magic of childhood. And that's what we're all about too at Thrive, is like we want the kids to have these memories of childhood magic. That's why we play these games, and we're a tech-free campus, because society is going the way of tech, going the way of AI, all these things, and we're losing that magic that childhood brings. And we want the kids to learn old-fashioned skills and just learning how to play.
Yeah.
We don't get in this society. It's like we're not playing anymore.
Yeah, they don't get opportunities to just imagine and play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of screens too involved in that, I think. So this might be a loaded question, or you may not have an answer for this, but seeing the way that homeschooling and where it's going right now, and I know we're seeing in Arizona and Florida alone just this mass exodus from the public school systems. Where do you see homeschooling heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it's going to become more mainstream. There's a lot of families coming into homeschooling now that would have never thought about it before. I'm hearing that a lot, like parents that are just not happy with the way things have gone, or maybe they want a more organic experience for their kids, just be kids again. So I think it will become more mainstream. But with that, I feel like there needs to be support. And I really worried, like I want there to be structures in place that families can come to have help with the subjects, like for history and science. Sometimes that's harder to do at home.
Yeah.
When you're at home with 2 kids and you're trying to do a science experiment, and sometimes it's easy to just kind of skip it because you don't have all the materials, or you have to plan. It's messy. So that's why at Thrive, we're doing the history, science, literature, and art, because we want everything. We want the kids to experience science, like experiments, exploding volcanoes, like all the things. Like the other day we were making little cars that were magnetic powered cars. And so things like that aren't as easy to do as parents, but now they have a structure to come into to get these subjects, go deep, but then they also have the freedom to still be kids on their days they're not at Thrive, and they can really go deep in their other subjects.
And we don't realize how much kids actually just learn when they're playing.
That's right.
And how much they learn when they're just having fun and with a group. And, they retain way more than we give them credit for, because I know my kids come home and they can reiterate what they learned at Thrive and so eloquently say, like, I learned this in history, and it's cool to hear them share their different views on what they learned. It's been just really fun to see them have fun with learning and not feel like it's boring.
Yeah. And that's why we do the history festival every year. So every year we the kids come in costume. We celebrate the time period that we're learning at Thrive, and the kids, they play games of the time period. They do all these activities because we really want them to feel like they not just learned about something in history, but they actually got to experience it. So we go really all out with our history festivals. We plan it pretty much all year, and it's just something that we feel passionate about, is that kids can have the experience of experiential learning in history. Yeah.
Thrive is just so interactive. I know today is Toga Spirit Week, and everyone's going to wear togas because it's the Roman, history lessons. And I think that kids just get a kick out of that. They just are like seeing all their teachers in togas and their friends in togas, and then they're learning about Roman history. It's just hands-on and fun, and they're going to remember those things. I think you and I have talked about this before, but I can't remember a lot of things I learned in public school.
No.
I'm like trying to think of what I actually learned in history or science that I remember.
Yeah.
Because even going back through it as a teacher at Thrive, I was like, I don't remember learning about this,
Yeah.
And I remember those things more now because I was hands-on with the kids teaching it.
That's right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of families, I think, right now reaching out and curious about homeschool. They're maybe dabbling in the idea, but they're really, really scared and fearful about even stepping into that world. What would you tell them, just being a homeschool mom of multiple kids, multiple ages, and, now they're grown? What would you tell them so they wouldn't be scared or stepping into the homeschool world?
Yeah. I think if a parent has that on their heart and it's something that they really feel they want to do, but they're afraid, I think they need to go for it, because they know what's best for their child. They're the one that has been there all along raising that child. They know their child better than anybody else in this world. And so one thing I do know, as I've gone, now I'm an empty nester, is that but despite your best intentions, and no matter how hard you try to do it perfectly, I know I kind of went into parenthood like, I want to be the best mom in the whole world. And you have all these big dreams and hopes for your kids, but then real life comes along. We're all imperfect. And there's not going to be any, I don't think, maybe you're out there and you're listening and you're saying, wait, I am the perfect. But I think every single human on the earth is going to mess up in some way, because that's just human nature. Like, life is hard. But if you have the love and you have the desire and you care about your kids in this way and you see something better, I just encourage you to step into it, because you're going to have experiences that you would never have if they were gone all day at school. Like, just having the time back for your family to get to know your kids, of who they are. And the siblings, like when my kids were growing up, I used to kind of think like, I don't know the kids from public school that I grew up with anymore, but siblings know each other. I'm an only child, so I don't have a sibling, but you think about siblings and how they grow up together and they have adulthood together. So I really wanted to preserve the relationship of my kids as siblings so that they could grow into adulthood and have a really strong foundation and just be able to navigate those relationships. I had a lot of friends growing up where the siblings didn't get along, and I just really wanted for my kids that they could all be best friends, and they really did emerge that way. Like, you just have these relationships that you pour into that will last a lifetime, and it's worth the sacrifice. If there's a mom out there or a dad and you're just like, how are we going to financially put this together? I'm here to say there's a way. When there's a will, there's a way. You can make it happen. There are nowadays, like, it's so different than in the past where there are remote jobs, or there's other things you can do to kind of make it work. And now we have state funding. We have resources that were never available in the past.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be hard pressed to think that a parent would regret spending more time with their kids or getting an opportunity to be with their kids and not miss out on them growing up, because it happens so fast. I'm sure I know my kids are still kind of young, but I feel like they were babies and it just, in a
It
blink of an
goes
eye,
so quickly.
they're not anymore. And so I think it's so important to remember that we lose so much time with our kids in life, and
Yeah.
it's so nice homeschooling and spending time with them. And I know working for Thrive, myself and many people who work for Thrive can bring their kids to Thrive. And so not only are we teaching other kids, but have our kids there. It's the coolest thing to get all that time with our kids.
That's
and
right.
As families, I relate so much too to the sibling side of it, because I want my kids to be best friends too. So I'm like doing my best to be like, love each other.
Yes.
You guys are going to be in each other's lives forever. These friends aren't going to be there,
Yeah.
at your wedding.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? Your siblings are going to be there.
Yeah.
So I relate to that so much. What's the final thing that you want people to know about Thrive?
As families are going into the high school years or even middle school years, sometimes it's easy for parents to feel like, I'm not the expert. I don't know how to teach algebra. But the nice thing about homeschooling in today's society is that we have ways that we can outsource things that maybe we don't want to take on as parents, but it still gives you the time back. So there are, tutors, there are all types of resources out there that you can utilize. And especially now in with the community colleges, your kids in high school can also earn a AA degree while they're in high school and gain this traction where they can graduate as a homeschooling student with an AA degree and then go straight into college with that degree. And then in the 4 years that they would have spent in college, they can now graduate with a master's. So it's actually really a great resource that we have that can save money. It cuts the cost of college. And
yeah, that's good advice. I think high school can be very daunting for a homeschool parent and where they're going with it. But you're right, with the mainstreamness of homeschooling, the options, the funding, I think it's way less scary for someone to step into the homeschooling world.
Yeah. And we've seen a trend in homeschooling. There's a lot of kindergarten through 8th grade families that are out there homeschooling. You can find so many groups and things, but when they get to high school, sometimes it tends to be a little bit sparse and there's not as many kids that are doing it because parents are intimidated with those subjects. And one of the things that I love is we've developed this high school program where we're not doing the history, science, literature, and art. We're doing electives that bring the kids together. So this year we're doing Odyssey of the Mind, which is a problem-solving class that teaches kids how to take problems, work together in groups, and come up with solutions. We also are doing historical inquiry, which they're solving mysteries throughout history that haven't been solved, and they're thinking and they're debating and they're talking. And so we have mock trial and debate. We have STEAM class, art, and different things, theater, that gives them the opportunity to work together and form friendships in their teen years, which is it's really important. I know that my own kids in their teen years, it was the loneliest time as homeschoolers. So I'm really passionate about making sure that our teens in our community have a resource for friendships. And it's really special. One of our campuses in Florida, in Bradenton, they have this group of kids that have become such good friends. And their teacher is just so good at facilitating discussion. It's not really lecture-based. It's more discussion and facilitating. And these kids are really, they're thinking deep and they're discussing, they're supporting each other and their ideas. And then outside of Thrive, they're going apple picking and just all kinds of fun things, pizza night. They just throw these spontaneous get-togethers. And that just makes my heart so happy because, I told my kids, it was hard for you in your teen years going through homeschool, but now because of that, we were able to see and identify the need for community. And you were kind of like, I feel bad, like your experience, but it launched something for other kids. Like the hard times that you had feeling alone now have been used to help other people. So and they've really helped me to develop the program based on what they needed as kids that they didn't have.
I love that so much. I think just Thrive holistically has come from a place of just helping kids who just need some support and families. Yeah. So we're not an island.
Yep, exactly.
That's so true. Thank you so much.
If this episode encouraged you, share it with another family who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We'll see you next time.